All right, everybody, here we are for episode 55 of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. It is really hot in my garage here. A couple weeks, we will be moving into a cooler area, if you will, inside the house, which will be at least just refreshing.
Yes.
So Wayne,
an outstanding background, and
yes,
it'll be setting the mood, if you will.
It will. It will definitely, I think, help us kind of get across what what we love. And movies is something that obviously we both love, and if people have seen my movie collection, it's
vast.
Yes,
vast is the word you're looking for.
Yes.
You know, I shared earlier today one of my Facebook memories of one of our first reviews from last year, and I thought to myself, yep, I'm going at it a year already.
Yep, over 1 year now, and we just keep rolling through. You know, I didn't know when we started this thing, I wasn't sure if we'd be able to be consistent. A lot of people do a couple podcasts, a weekend, and then they hold off on it. Maybe we should have done that, but we didn't do that. We just did it every weekend, with a few hiccups here and there, but it's been fun getting together every Sunday to do these, watching all these movies. This week, people, we have a record 3 movies we are reviewing, so sit back and enjoy. We're going to get to our main topic, though, right now, which is, although it's Crime Capers, but it's Soderbergh Crime Capers. He has directed 4 of the movies we're going to talk about, produced all 5 of them, and then we're going to review his brand new movie plus 2 other films.
And there are so many that we're not going to talk about, but, Soderbergh's career has been phenomenal. And, well, I don't know about phenomenal. I think he's phenomenal.
I think it's phenomenal. Okay. This is what I wanted to talk about because, I want to do a deep dive on him in one of our episodes. But what I love about Soderbergh is basically not one movie is the same. And we'll definitely get into it when we talk about the new one this week. He goes into each movie thinking differently, wanting to try something new. He's kind of like the independent James Cameron. So it makes it easier for him to keep making movies because what he wants to do doesn't cost a lot of money. Like, he shot 2 films back-to-back on iPhones. So that's something that nobody else has ever really done. And he was very successful with those 2 films. Yep. And, he did Traffic and Aaron Brockovich in the same year. And he did the Che movies. And he's done the Oceans movies, which we're going to talk about here. But those are kind of like movies, like just happy, fun, entertaining movies. Yep. Then you have something like Traffic, which is like a film. Like, that's a beast of a movie. And to come off of Traffic and Aaron Brockovich right into Ocean's 11 was just a crazy thought. But that's why I like him, because he's so unpredictable. His career, he said, this is quoting him, he likes the fact that he doesn't have a brand because it keeps people, it takes away the expectation from him, and then it kind of keeps things fresh and interesting. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was doing my research on him just to make sure I focused on the right things and going through, and I'm like, the stuff that he's been a producer or an executive producer, and it's like, man, this guy, I tell you.
He's got his fingers in a lot of things. He directed the last Oscars. So he's been doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So our first movie that we're going to talk about, again, Soderbergh Crime Capers. In 1989, he did Sex Lies Videotape. His next major movie after that was Out of Sight. So 9 years later, he did 3 or 4 independent films in between Sex Lies and Videotape and Out of Sight. Out of Sight was probably, Wayne, the first time that, I'd seen Sex Lies and Videotape on TV. I probably shouldn't have, because I was probably pretty young when I watched it for the first time. And not even, there's not even that much sex in the movie. It's more just the content of that film. So Out of Sight was more my brand, I think, at the time, because it was this fun crime caper film starring, the rising actor George Clooney coming off of ER. He did From Dusk Till Dawn. That showed that he could carry a movie. And then he gets Out of Sight, which also not introduces us, because we've seen her before, but I would say also began the starring movie career of Jennifer Lopez. As she was in Selena. She was in a few other movies. Money Train. I think after... And it's not that Out of Sight was this huge hit, but I feel like for both of them, after Out of Sight, their careers kind of took off in the extension that it is today. The way we talk about them both today.
For me, it was The Limey.
The Limey for Soderbergh. That's another great movie.
It is fantastic. It's the first one I really sat there of his. I've seen one before that. I'm like, oh, this thing just flows, and it was entertaining, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a great movie too. We're not really going to get into that one today, but if you haven't seen The Limey, check it out.
I was ready to start gunning right now. Like, no, it's for another time. But yes, obviously Terrence Stamp at his greatest.
Yes, for sure. That one's more of like a revenge tale.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Out of Sight, as we said, directed by Steven Soderbergh. I didn't even realize, written by Scott Frank, who's done quite a few notable films that he has written. Get Shorty, Minority Report, The Lookout, which I really love. Which I think did he direct that one too? Director. Hold on. I'm not sure which one. This is his acting. I don't want his acting. He's a writer and a director.
Is he actor?
For God's sakes. Let's see. Was it Logan? Didn't he do Logan? Yes.
Lucky Logan?
He wrote, no, not Lucky Logan. Logan. Wolverine. He was nominated for an Oscar for Logan. So this guy has been around a while. He did Godless, the miniseries on Netflix, which is also fantastic. The Lookout, Minority Report, like I said. Out of Sight. So when I watched Out of Sight again, I've seen it before. I didn't realize it was one of his scripts. It really made me, once I saw his name on the screen, I was excited to watch it again. Because I was like, oh, wow. I like Scott Frank a lot. Based on a story by Elmore Leonard. It stars George Clooney, Jennifer Lopez, Ving Rhames, Don Cheadle, Steve Zahn, Dennis Farina, and Albert Brooks. It is the story of a man named Jack Foley, played by George Clooney, and a U.S. Marshal named Karen Sisko. Jack Foley is a criminal who gets out of a job interview and then decides to go rob another bank, which he's robbed many a times. He's never done it with a gun. That's part of the story. He gets into prison, and then his friend Buddy, played by Ving Rhames, is going to break him out. Luis Guzman plays a character who him and his boyfriend are going to break out of prison, so George Clooney's character, Jack Foley, is tagging along with them, but he's kind of got his own thing planned. Mm-hmm. And Karen Sisko just so happens to be there, and she's meeting a prisoner or something like that. She has to go there for a reason to that prison. She happens to be there when they're breaking out. She pulls a gun on Jack. Buddy takes her. He throws her in the trunk. Jack gets in the trunk. Jack and Karen develop this kind of like quick, not really romantic relationship, but witty back and forth relationship to where there's already a connection. So when she convinces Steve Zahn's character, Dwight, the guy with the sunglasses who wears them all the time, even at night, and Steve Zahn's a fantastic character. I love him in a lot of his movies, and convinces Dwight to drive away. And then he crashes the car, he escapes, and then she calls it in, blah, blah, blah. George Clooney and Ving Rhames then end up kind of going on their own way, trying to get to Detroit, which is where they're supposed to meet up with Dwight and rob Albert Brooks' character, who is a rich man who's made money off the backs of people, one of those type of rich a-holes. Mm-hmm. So comedy and hijinks ensue. There's lots of good comedic stuff in this movie. Ving Rhames has this thing where he has to always call his sister and confess. The reason they ended up in jail the first time was because he called and confessed to his sister before they committed the crime. Usually he does it after the fact. So he called before and they get arrested, and that's how they met Dwight. That's how they met Albert Brooks' character. That's how they meet Snoopy, played by the great Don Cheadle, who plays a gangster / boxer / drug pusher / whatever, is everything. So when they get to Detroit, they realize that Snoopy is also in on the job, and he's kind of taking it over. Isaiah Washington has a small part in this movie, so he plays like his cousin, I think.
Did you, not to interject and take a different direction here, did you ever see Karen Sisko, the spinoff?
I have not. With Carlo Gugino, no, I didn't watch it. No.
I'm familiar with it vaguely, but I can't recall anything spectacular about it. If you know.
It lasted like a season, I think.
It actually lasted from 2003 to 2007, it says.
Did it really?
That's what it says here on the IMDb. But
I didn't realize how many episodes. I didn't realize it lasted that long.
Okay, yep, it says 11 episodes, okay. But it has the date from 2003 to 2007.
Maybe they came back with like a special or something afterwards.
That's why it wasn't memorable, because I'm thinking, and I'm like, Well, if it lasted for 5 seasons, you should probably remember something, right?
Right, exactly. So yeah, that was another attempt to kind of bring this Elmore Leonard story into the light. It also is interesting of note that Michael Keaton, who is in this film, in a small cameo role as an FBI agent, is the same character that he played in Jackie Brown the year before. Both stories adapted from Elmore Leonard. So that was kind of like a funny tie-in that they had, which is even funnier when you get to the end of the movie and Samuel L. Jackson has a cameo as a completely different character, not his character from Jackie Brown. So they kind of like, are they the same universe? What's going on here? But it's really one of those, it's Soderbergh showing that he can make lighthearted, fun, but still violent films. Like there's a lot of blood, people die in this movie. It's not for the faint of heart. And I'm not saying like it's super gory or anything, but it's not an Ocean's movie where, no one really dies. It's just kind of a fun, crime caper. There are high stakes in this movie. Ever since I saw this film, I was a big fan. Back in 1998, I think probably when it came to home video at the end of that year, when I first saw it. And I just fell in love with the style of it, the cinematography that Soderbergh likes to use. There's a lot of freeze framing in this, which normally annoys me. But for this movie, it works because it's like a noir-style film. So it works very much with this film.
I remember how much you loved the ending of the 80s movie genre with the freeze frame.
Yes. Or and I love Hellboy 2, but they end Hellboy 2 on a freeze frame. I never understood it. I didn't get it. Bothered me. But this one, maybe because it doesn't end on a freeze frame, it's throughout the movie there's freeze frame.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think how many Harry Potter movies end on the freeze frame. I think there's at least 3. I think the first 3 actually do. Anyway,
I do like the third.
I digress.
But yeah, I mean, Wayne, do you remember this movie? When's the last time you saw it?
If I saw it, it was when it came out,
it's
or
22
a long
years
time ago.
23 years ago now.
Yeah, I can't recall anything more than vague details that you've already talked about. But
it's a great performance from George Clooney. Probably one of Jennifer Lopez's best performances. Don Cheadle is fantastic. So if you're a Don Cheadle fan, a George Clooney fan, and you haven't seen this movie, you definitely need to watch this movie. It still holds up. I just watched it this week. It's really good.
Would you say that this is what really I know you talked about catapulting but Jennifer Lawrence, I think obviously she was
Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, her too. Jennifer Lopez, excuse me. Obviously she was coming off of that the Selena role.
Selena, Money Train, and some other things. Yeah.
I want to say that this really solidified it. That her performance, I think, is what I remember most.
I think it showed people that not only, she was good in Selena, but this showed a different range. It showed that she could be funny. It showed that she could be sexy and charming and authoritative, it all in one role. And I think that's a lot to put on display. And I thought she did a really good job. I'll be honest, I'm not her biggest fan when it comes to a lot of her movies, but this is one of my favorite movies of hers, probably my favorite. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she did a fantastic job in this, and it did help catapult her into more starring roles. And, it's one of those things that was set up as a George Clooney starring picture, right? But I think she stole a lot of her scenes and made it more a George Clooney, Jennifer Lopez picture. Which is interesting to do when Clooney, again, you talk about that rise that he was on in the late 90s.
Yes. See, when even you saying that right now, I'm thinking George Clooney and in this role. I'm like, interject any, action, actor at the time. Yep. But, I remember vividly, Ms. Lopez.
Yes. Well, and with Clooney, too, it allowed to show off some of his comedic chops because he didn't necessarily get a chance to do that a lot. And from Dusk Till Dawn, he's not the funny one. That's more Tarantino's role. And in Peacemaker's an action film and stuff. So this was a role before Oh Brother Where Art Thou that got to show that he does have a little bit of comedy in him. Yeah. And I think that's probably what led to him being cast in something like Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Dr. Serious all the time on ER.
Right, exactly. He was always a serious guy, serious actor. If you go back and watch some of his early 80 films, like Return of the Killer Tomatoes, not always super serious, but when he got on ER, he was known as being the serious actor and going to be in a lot of dramas, maybe some action films. Obviously, he did Batman and Robin, which we all like to forget. Yeah.
which we all like to forget.
Yes.
He'll always be Booker from Roseanne to me, because that's where I remembered seeing him.
Meeting him for the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you get a chance to catch Out of Sight, check it out. It's a fantastic movie. It's a great intro to Soderbergh because it's not super serious like something like Traffic, but it is a little more hard edge than something like the Ocean's movies. So I think it kind of gives you a little bit of everything from Soderbergh, and it's a nice kind of intro into him if you haven't seen a lot of his movies. All right, so we're going to go to the next movie, and this is going to start the Ocean's talk. So Ocean's 11, Wayne, it's been 20 years now. It's the 20-year anniversary of Ocean's 11. I can't believe it's been that long. I was watching the first three this week, and I'm like, wow, 01, 04, 07. I'm like, the newest one was 2007. Yep. So that's 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we'll get to Ocean's 8, but I'm just including the first trilogy when I'm talking in this moment here. So Ocean's 11. First off, we should talk about the original, which I never finished because I thought it was so boring. I feel bad because of who's in it, but I couldn't get into it. I bought it. I think it was before the new one came out. I bought the DVD for the original. I'm like, I'm going to watch this before I go see the new one because that's going to be cool. I made it like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I'm just going through the cast list right now. Obviously, we have the big members of the Rat Pack. Yep. We got Sinatra as Danny Ocean, Dean Martin as Sam Harmon, Sammy Davis Jr. as Josh Howard, Peter Lawford, Angie Dickinson, Richard Conte, Cesar Romero, Joey Bishop. If these names don't ring a bell as I'm saying them, you need to kind of maybe check out something made before the 1970s.
And watch maybe some of their other movies. Yeah. I don't know if you need to watch that one. Because again, like Wayne and I both said, it just wasn't very interesting. It was very slow in the beginning. And it looked like I don't know who the director was, but it looked like he was also a friend of theirs. So no one really had an idea of what they were supposed to be doing. They're like, hey, we're just a bunch of friends making a movie. Where in Ocean's 11, you've got Soderbergh, who's already, just fresh off his Oscar from Traffic. So he's already deemed like a very important filmmaker. And then you get George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Don Cheadle, Elliot Gould, Carl Reiner, Julia Roberts, Bernie Mac, obviously the late Bernie Mac is, oh my God, that whole scene is fantastic. And then you get as a villain, you get Andy Garcia. I mean, they peppered this cast with a bunch of people that you already know, whether it be a major actor or a comedian, just superstars. I mean, that's just looking at the cover box. Clooney, Pitt, Roberts. Matt Damon was like the lesser guy at this point in time because this was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, Casey Affleck and Scott Conn, their relationship, there's just the subtle little jibbing at each other. Oh, balloon boy.
These, and I guess that's my point, this cast, even though some of them were just meeting for the first time, felt more like a family than watching that cast, which was basically a family in real life of a bunch of friends who were just, like to hang out with each other. And I get that, they've become friends since, like Brad Pitt has been, they all go to George Clooney's house and hang out and all that stuff, and that's cool, but they weren't really friends, I don't think, going into this. So that's kind of cool how it all worked out. So, this movie, the first one, Ocean's 11, starts off with Danny getting out of jail, and Danny Ocean, played by George Clooney. He goes to meet Rusty, who's just kind of working. He's working out in California. I just watched this movie. I can't really remember it all.
Then he owns a hotel, or is that one of the later ones?
That's the second one, yeah. That's what I was thinking, too. I'm like, wait a minute. No, this one, in the first one, he's teaching celebrities how to play cards.
Yes, with Topher Grace.
Topher Grace and Shane West, and it's all CW actors. So this is a Warner Brothers movie. They got Warner Brothers TV actors, with the exception of Topher, to be in this scene. So that was pretty cool, because he was like...
Check it out. All red.
All red. He puts 3 diamonds, 2 hearts. It's hilarious. It's a really great scene. It's Brad Pitt's introduction. The one thing about the one character decision he made in this franchise was he's always eating. Yeah. Every time you see him, that's his compulsion. He's eating. And I think it goes through all 3 movies. It was a fantastic choice for that character. So we find out that, well, actually, we don't even find out yet. Danny Ocean wants to rob the 3 casinos owned by Terry Benedict, played by Andy Garcia. No one really knows why yet. We find out later why he had picked him as the target. So they get the team together. They get Brad Pitt. Let me get to the full cast because this cast is, like I said, it's incredible. I already mentioned it, but there's
As you're doing that, I just want to talk about some of the funniest one-liners. You know what I mean? Just little quips here and there. I mean, obviously you got the genius that is Bernie Mac delivering his monologues and stuff, but like Xiaobo Quinn playing the Amazing Yen, when he pops up out of the little thing he's hiding it. Where F you been?
Yes.
Just little things like that. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's full of one-liners.
We're going to need a grease man.
Yeah. So you get the main 11 are George Clooney, as we said, Danny Ocean, Bernie Mac as Frank Catton, Brad Pitt as Robert Rusty Ryan, Elliot Gould as Ruben Tishkov, Casey Affleck as Virgil Malloy, Scott Conn as Turk Malloy, Eddie Jemison, I forgot, that was one I left off, as Livingston Dell. He's the computer expert. Don Cheadle as Basher has always been my favorite character. Yeah. And Bash he's the explosive guy. He's the one that always kind of does all the dirty work.
Who's in Bonnie?
Yes, Bonnie. What?
Bonnie Rubbo. Trouble.
Shobo Wynn as the Amazing Yen, Carl Reiner as Sal Bloom, and Matt Damon as Lannis Caldwell. That's basically in the order that they get these people. He gets Bernie Mac's character Frank first, and then they branch out and they get everybody else. And it's kind of a nice, like almost like a superhero putting the team together type of thing. Like, we need this guy. Like you said, we need a grease guy. We need all these types of people. And then, like I said, you get Andy Garcia and Julia Roberts. The Vulgar players are Holly Marie Combs, along with, obviously, Topher Grace. Joshua Jackson, I forgot about him. Barry Watson and Shane West. Steven Soderbergh does play one of the bank robbers with Batcher. Siegfried and Roy played themselves. Wayne Newton plays himself. Vladimir Klitschko, the boxer. Lennox Lewis, that's the boxing thing, the boxing match that they have that kind of is the center of the heist. So,
and then you get the classics. You know, you get Angie Dixon makes an appearance at the boxing match. Steve Lawrence, Wayne Newton, Siegfried and Roy are there. Just, you know, people that are like the classic Hollywood
Vegas,
baby.
The Vegas people that you would recognize. It's just such a fun movie. The first one. I mean, it really truly is like. Just
the misdirection, the classic.
The misdirection.
What the hell is going on?
And that's what, you know, well, I guess we'll get, hold on. So the misdirection and stuff, I think, is one of the fun parts of this franchise. Like, that's what you watch them for. The first one does it the best. It's the most original, I think. It really is the least confusing. And it's a lot of fun. And the characters are great. Having Brad Pitt and George Clooney on screen together was probably the best thing they could have done. I mean, those two are perfect together. There's a scene, because I don't want to forget about it. They do it in kind of all 3 movies, but it's definitely the first movie and the second movie where they mimic each other. I don't know if you remember, there's a scene where George Clooney's having a conversation with Brad Pitt on the couch, and Brad Pitt's just sitting there staring, and George Clooney has the entire conversation without Brad Pitt saying it, where he's like asking him questions and stuff.
Do that?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, what do you think about that? Yeah, I don't know about that. And like, the second movie, it's Brad Pitt, because it's about women troubles. It's Brad Pitt talking to George Clooney while they're watching a movie, and it's the same thing, asking those questions. And I thought it was a really clever bit that they did perfectly in both films.
Now, I forgive me if I forget. Which is the one where they're Oprah's on and they're getting emotional?
That is the second one. That's the second one, because that's the. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in the second one, because that's the one with Vincent Cassel as the Night Fox. All right, so, I mean, this movie, I'm not going to go too great into the plot, because either you've seen it or you don't. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. There's so much great misdirection. There's so much great witty one-liners. The cast is on top of their game for the most part. The only, I think, critique I would say, Wayne, is, and it kind of goes for all 3 movies, which is, I think, why they definitely deserved an all-women cast movie like the last one we got, because they really don't give the women a lot to do. Like, Julia Roberts is in 2 movies, and she doesn't do much.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a shame. I would say that's the one shame of this. Now I think like as far as the second one, like I think she was busy, so that I don't know if that was necessarily the plan originally.
She was pregnant in the second one, right?
Yes, yes. So that I think she only did the part towards the end where she pretends to be Julia Roberts pregnant. Right? Yes. So, which is a great bit too. But yeah, that would be my only complaint, and that goes through all three movies, that the women don't get as much fun in these movies. It's more, I would have liked to seen in Ocean's 13 them add a woman as one of their pieces.
She should have, yeah, the 13th there. I don't know. I'm going to go so far as to say it's kind of like in the first one, she's kind of just used in a sense because it's just, she's like an ego thing for her.
She's in between. Almost. Yeah, and that's the other thing you have to wrestle with too, right? You're supposed to really love Danny Ocean, but he's kind of using his own wife as a pawn.
Right.
So, and like with the idea that like no matter what, she's going to want to go back to him. It's like, well, maybe you should give her that choice if she wants to go back to you. But regardless of that, they're still very fun movies. We'll get into the second one here right now. So 3 years later, Ocean's 12 comes out. They introduce Catherine Zeta-Jones. So you get basically everybody back from the first movie. That's what's great about these movies too, Wayne, is that the entire cast comes back, with the exception we'll talk of the third one. They got the entire cast, plus they add Catherine Zeta-Jones, Albert Finney, Vincent Cassell. Trying to think if there was anybody else they added in this one. Oh, well, Bruce Willis as Bruce Willis, which was pretty fantastic. Mm-hmm. So this is the one that gets, I think, the biggest grief. People don't like this one as much. The plot is that Terry Benedict.
Oh, let's not forget the great Robbie Coltrane. Did you say him already?
Oh, Robbie Coltrane. Oh, and how did I forget too? Eddie Izzard. Eddie Izzard is one of them, and he's another one. They bring him back in 13. So you do get Eddie Izzard and Robbie Coltrane. Those are notable actors.
They're some of my favorites. I just didn't want to leave them out.
No, for sure. Coltrane. I totally forgot he was in it until I was watching it again. I was like, oh yeah. So it was nice to see them add those new pieces. The movie starts out with Terry basically threatening them, saying he wants his money back plus interest. You find out actually that this character, the Night Fox, is the one that kind of started this whole thing, and he told Terry that he would get them their money back, or he would help them get his money back, but he wants them to have 2 weeks to get the money, but to earn it back. Mm-hmm. So we find out that the Night Fox has been kind of told that he's not the best thief in the world. So he wants to prove that he is. And Danny Ocean and his guys kind of hold that because there's a team of them. I mean, I don't know why one person would think he's better than 11 people, but he does.
Definitely Superman complex.
Yes, exactly. So he basically challenges them to steal this Fabergé egg, and the winner has to pay Terry Benedict. It goes through a lot of the same type of things. There's lots of misdirection. My biggest complaint, watching it this time, because I've always stood by this movie and said that, it actually is a solid movie. They do actually steal something. That was one thing people said, they didn't steal anything. Well, they end up stealing the Fabergé egg. My issue with it, though, was, like with Ocean's 11, they go back and rewind, but you see a lot of the misdirection and stuff happen in real time, and then they show you some of the stuff you didn't see. With Ocean's 12, when they're going to commit the heist, they all get arrested immediately.
Yeah.
And then you don't really get to see any heist happen except for a few shots in a quick story that George Clooney tells the Night Fox and how they stole the egg like a week ahead of time. And I do feel like they kind of missed the mark on what people enjoyed out of the first movie.
Right. The biggest complaint that I heard from people is that they didn't get it. Like, they missed stuff. And I mean, that happens to me. I find that happens to me more and more. I have to watch it a second or a third time to absorb everything. But with this one, the average audience viewer either lost their train of thought or it was almost too smart for them, I'll say, maybe, if that makes sense, if fair.
Maybe too smart or just not enough given throughout the movie if you weren't really paying as much attention. I'm not quite sure exactly why people didn't like it. I remember working at Blockbuster at the time this came out, and one of the people I worked with said, she's like, oh, yeah, they didn't even, steal anything. I'm like, what? They did. It just wasn't, it wasn't to get rich. It was to basically not be dead. And I think that maybe kind of confused a lot of people, too. It was that whole thing. There are some great bits, though, the Julia Roberts as Tess as Julia Roberts, which may sound confusing, but they asked Tess because she looks a lot like Julia Roberts to pretend to be Julia Roberts. Well, unbeknownst to them, they run into Bruce Willis, who in this movie world is great friends with Julia Roberts. And the pieces kind of end up getting put together that she's not who she says she is. They all get arrested. We meet Matt Damon's character Linus's mom, which we've heard about his mom and dad because they're both confidence people. So that was I did like that twist too. The fact that the mom was the one that got them all out of jail. But I'm spoiling this movie just because it's been out for
16 years.
Yeah, so it's got its moments. It does have some funny moments. It does have some good one-liners. It just is not as good as the first one, and I think that's where it suffers most. And like I said, I think the ending, because you don't get to see them do the heist really, it kind of lessens the impact of it.
Yeah, they took the best part about the first one is kind of
push it to the side, yeah. Which is weird. And I think, reading from Soderbergh, because this is his favorite, so I think he wanted to do the character development thing, which he did a lot of. There's a lot of character development. It's just that's not why people watch the first movie. You know what I mean? So it's I get, because he's that type of filmmaker, that's something that's important to him. And I completely understand it. I love character development. But when you're working with a sequel, a lot of times you don't need to do that as much because you did it in the first movie.
So you're saying he really likes character development, eh?
Yes.
Maybe he should direct a Star Wars movie.
He probably should.
Sorry, I had to take it there. Moving forward to my personal favorite of the trilogy, the third one.
Yes. Ocean's 13, directed by Steven Soderbergh, again. Eddie Izzard is back from 12. Julia Roberts is gone. She's written out because they have a kid now. So that it's not her. So what happens is Al Pacino's character, Mr. Bank, basically screws over Ruben. Ruben kind of has a panic attack. Really, it's not like a stroke or anything. It's just he kind of goes catatonic. And so they're out for revenge.
Well, it's like he says as it's happening. Everybody told me not to trust you. Well, they were right.
Yeah, exactly.
You changed the name. Yeah. I liked it better.
Pacino is great too, by the way. Pacino and Ellen Barkin is another addition. Vincent Cassel is back, as well as Andy Garcia. Garcia Terry Benedict works with them, but he's also working with the Night Fox to kind of screw them over in the end anyway, which of course they catch on to because they're the Ocean's crew. Eddie Izzard has a much bigger role this time around. He actually is involved in the final heist part of the film. So their goal in this one is to basically ruin Bank. They want to take everything from him, make nobody trust him, and steal his diamonds, which is something that he holds dear with his 5 diamond awards.
Yes,
he's got 4 of them or 5 of them and he's hoping to get another one for the new hotel.
The gentleman that is checking out the hotel, played by David Paymer.
Yes.
They just do awful, terrible things to the food poisoning, and
hey, he gets it in the end.
He does. It is the redemption of this character, but just the stuff that he goes through, and how the Ocean's team they
aren't nice to him. That's for sure.
5 minutes.
Yes. Sir, I said get out. You got 5 minutes, sir. Oh God, that scene with Affleck and Khan was fantastic. Let's see if I'm missing anybody else that was a new addition. No, that's pretty much who we said was basically. I do have to say Bob Einstein, who is actually Super Dave and brother of Albert Brooks, who's since passed away, rest in peace, plays Linus's father, Matt Damon's father, which is a great addition because he's fantastic. It was fun to see him again. People.
The nose plays.
Yes, the nose plays. It was fun to see him in this movie, and especially now knowing that he's Albert Brooks' brother, who Albert Brooks was in Out of Sight. So to see it, Soderbergh kind of obviously liked that family, went back to him. It's just such a fun kind of return to form, I will say. It does a lot what the first one does. It has a lot more. It's kind of like he heard the complaints of there wasn't a big heist moment. So he's like, fine, I'll give you a big heist moment, but I'm going to throw in 90 different curveballs. And you're just like, wait, what? So there's the one thing I realized about watching this movie again was there were so many different like turns around each corner and so many different. Yeah. This is what we're doing over here, but this is what's really happening. Yeah. Other people don't know. Like Brad Pitt and George Clooney will know something, but not everybody else knows it, and it's just this whole big confusion.
And I mean, we were introduced to the goddamn American icon, Fendi Rhodes.
Yes.
Pay me my money in cash. Obviously, I love the subtle nuances of little minute characters and little side stories.
And what Wayne is talking about is Don Cheadle pretending to be a Daredevil type person, like a
Super Dave, if you will.
Yes, or Super Dave, and to kind of stall.
Have a bike.
So Casey Affleck could hack the system and change the appearance of all 11 of the Ocean's crew, so that they don't get found out by the police, because Eddie Jemison's character gets arrested, and there's the concern that they're going to find his associates, and they're all his associates. Mm-hmm. So it's a great little scene. It allows Cheadle to drop the British accent, which he put on for this movie, which I believe was, I remember reading, was his choice to make that character British. And then he gets to put on kind of like a hillbilly Southern accent for the Rose character. Really great scene between him and Pacino. Pacino just always, like, he outfoxes a lot of people, but then there's a lot of scenes where he just seems really confused. And I think that's what they wanted the character to be, was someone who, like, just doesn't get the buffoonery behind people. And that was kind of like what it was. Some great scenes with him and Clooney. Definitely, because Clooney was the one that I think dealt with him the most. Because he goes to, basically, in the beginning of the film, he goes to him and says, hey, you make Ruben whole, nothing's going to happen to you. We'll leave. No, you won't hear from my guys ever again. Pacino laughs in his face, essentially. And so Clooney and them, they hatch the plan. They basically, like I said, it's a revenge plan. And they're not trying to kill the guy, but they're trying to cripple him. Mm-hmm. And they do that successfully.
And why did they do this? Because he shook Sinatra's hand.
Yes. And from
you should know better.
From someone who shook Sinatra's hand, you should know better. And that's kind of like the last thing. And then we see when they steal a diamond. See, I did like that scene. He looks up, my diamonds. That's it. That's all he says. My diamonds. Mm-hmm. Just another, like I said, a return to form from the first film.
With even the diamonds is a misdirection, too.
Yes.
If you remember, the Night Fox thinks he's got them.
The Night Fox thinks he got them. We don't know exactly what's going on because they made replicas of them. Mm-hmm. So we're assuming that he changed in the replicas, but then when it's obvious to the viewer, when the Night Fox steals them, you're like, oh, well, then they didn't actually. And then you remember that they put hooks on the ceiling, and you're like, oh, that's what that was for. So they end up stealing the whole thing out of the hotel, which was a great scene, too. It was just a nice added characters in Pacino and Barkin. Again, though, she doesn't get treated probably how she should, just as another female in this world. But that, like I said, I think that's why we get what we got with Ocean's 8, mm-hmm. which is the next film, directed by Gary Ross, produced by Steven Soderbergh. Ocean's 8 follows the story of Deborah Ocean, who is the sister of, were to be believed deceased Danny Ocean. There was never a sequel to this one. They've never talked about doing yet another Ocean's movie, so we don't know if he really is truly dead or not. She even mentions in the movie, oh God, I hope you're dead. So there's that belief that she even has that he may not actually be dead. This was my first viewing of this film. I had never seen it before.
Before we get into it, I really don't think they can do another Ocean's movie with Carl Reiner being gone and Bernie Mac being gone.
That's true.
I wouldn't want them to, unless they do a really good job with, let's just not.
Yeah.
Sorry, but let's get into Ocean's 8 because, again, this wasn't as well received as the other ones from what I remember, but from watching it, I enjoyed it. I mean, it had its flaws, but...
Yeah, it was more well received than Ocean's 12, but yes. 11 and 13 were much better received. All right, so let's get to the cast real quick. Sandra Bullock as Debbie Ocean. Kate Blanchett as Lou Miller. Anne Hathaway as Daphne Kluger. Mindy Kaling as Amita. Sarah Paulson as Tammy. Awkwafina as Constance. Rihanna as Nine Ball. Helena Bonham Carter as Rose Vale, I believe is how it said. Richard Armitage as Claude Becker. James Corden as John Fraser, and yes, that you heard that correctly in my voice. Dakota Fanning plays Penelope Stern. That was the one thing I had that confused me a little bit. Wayne, was we just had not just had, but Ocean's 12. Bruce Willis plays himself.
Mm-hmm.
So why did Dakota Fanning not play Dakota Fanning? Like, that was confusing to me. That I get Anne Hathaway being a different character because it's, she's a bigger role. But why did it was confusing to me that Dakota Fanning wasn't Dakota Fanning, because they had already set a precedent in the series to have actors play themselves. So I thought that was a big, kind of maybe a missed opportunity to have her play herself.
Right.
Apparently, Michael Gandolfini's in this movie, the son of James Gandolfini, who will be the star of The Many Saints of Newark. He plays one of the busboys. So that's interesting. The Amazing Yen is back, and so is Ruben. So those are two returning characters from the Ocean's franchise. Like we said, they mentioned Danny, he's dead, and the guys want her not to cause any crazy shit. Cate Blanchett is her right hand, basically her Brad Pitt. And Anne Hathaway is kind of the mark, but also kind of not by the end of the film. That was what confused me, or not confused me, Wayne, but when I went into this movie, because I didn't know what was going on, obviously, till the end of it, I was like, why did they cast Anne Hathaway as, like, a non-part of the team? Like, it was really bizarre. But then as you watch the movie, you kind of figure out what's going on. There's another, kind of like, oh, well, only two of us knew this, but you guys don't realize that or three of them, because Mindy Kaling had to make all the fake jewelry. Mm-hmm. So, like, three of them knew what the whole plan was, but only they didn't want to tell everybody else. Right. Sarah Paulson's great as they don't even really explain what she does, but she has a garage full of stolen merchandise, like, that has fallen off trucks. So she's like Vin Diesel from Fast and the Furious, the first movie. She just steals shit off trucks. And tells her husband, Amazon. Like, what do you tell your husband? Amazon? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't know if that explains all the washers and dryers you have sitting in your garage. Mindy Kaling is the jeweler who makes the fake jewelry. She's really good. I really like the cast. They got a kind of a nice, diverse, rounded out cast, I think, for this movie. It was fun to an extent. I didn't love it by any stretch, but I did enjoy the characters, I think. And, Cate Blanchett is freaking amazing. She's probably one of my favorite actors. So, like, to see her in this movie was great. And to kind of see her not have to, if everyone knows Cate Blanchett, there's makeup, fake noses, wigs, whatever. It looked like she just got to be herself for once, which I'm sure she was. It's kind of like when you see Johnny Depp just be a guy. That's kind of how this was for Cate Blanchett. It's like she just got to be a girl or a woman, and that was it.
And for me, a lot of times, lately, say the last 10 years, maybe 15, when you see Johnny Depp, I'm expecting to hear Jack Sparrow.
Yes.
And with Cate Blanchett, any one of her characters.
Yes, anyone. So, she's played guys, she's played weird people, she's played whatever, crazy characters.
But then you hear her do an interview, and it's like, who is this person?
Yes.
Where is the character that I know her as?
And she got to use her Australian accent, which is very rare, too. She doesn't get to use that a lot either, unless she's doing an Aussie movie. So they really just kind of like, hey, Kate, just be yourself. And I thought that was great for her. It made it kind of a more relaxed role, I think, for her. But that was fun. It served the movie really well. So yeah, if you stayed away from Ocean's 8 because you were like, if you stayed away from it because you don't like women, then don't watch it because you're a piece of shit. But if you stayed away from it because you're like, I don't know if they're going to do it justice, I think they do for the most part. They do the movie series justice.
Now, sir, there are plenty of men that don't like women, so maybe they're not pieces of shit, if you will. What he's saying is, if you're a misogynist, then you're not really worth their time, and don't listen to our show. If
your biggest critique of the film when it came out was like, why do we need a women Oceans movie? Then, like I said, for the reasons we just talked about, the women really don't get to do anything in the Oceans movie. So them having their own movie is a good idea. Now, do I wish that maybe they planned this earlier and had Sandra Bullock be in Ocean's 13? That probably would have been a better idea. But obviously they weren't thinking that far ahead. So it's nice that they were kind of able to work her in after that. But I would have loved to see her as like the 13th person in Ocean's 13. It would have been fantastic.
Even working at some point, Danny just looks like a Debbie.
Yeah.
Danny.
Exactly. Just something simple. Now, I get they were like almost 7 years apart. So, no, not 11 years apart. Sorry. For some reason, I was thinking it's 2018 this movie came out.
I don't math well either.
Yes. But I do recommend it. All 4 movies, including the original, the Sinatra version, are on. So all 5 movies are on HBO Max if you have that. So you can go check them out there. Anything Soderbergh I really recommend, but those are, these are lots of fun movies. All right, so we're going to get into our reviews
of the week.
As I said, we got 3. So we're going to go through them here. The very first one we're going to go with is the Soderbergh one called No Sudden Move. No Sudden Move is his brand new movie that's straight to HBO Max. He's basically become like I'm going to do like straight to streaming now. He did 2 straight to Netflix, and then he's got 2 straight to HBO Max, plus a 3rd one coming by the end of this year. He's kind of just doing his own thing. He was supposed to have retired like 10 years ago, and he just can't stop making movies, which I love him for that, because I love, whenever I see new Soderbergh movies coming out, I get excited.
Yeah. I'm going to be the first one to admit right now, I need to rewatch this just to catch everything that I missed. Because it has many, many twists and turns. It kind of had a Departed feel.
A little bit, yeah.
Different era, obviously,
yes.
But that kind of...
No, you're totally right. It
storytelling to it.
So we're going to get into this movie. I do want to talk a little bit about, so it's directed by Soderbergh, obviously. Written by Ed Solomon, writer of Bill and Ted. So right then and there, I'm like, oh, shit. Like, there's the guy I like. Listen to this cast. Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, David Harbour, John Hamm, Amy Seimetz, Brendan Fraser, Kieran Culkin, Noah Jupe, Craig Grant, Julia Fox, Frankie Shaw, Matt Damon, Ray Liotta, and Bill Duke. So another just solid cast for Soderbergh. Your main characters, and you'll see if you watch the movie, the 3 names that are mentioned before the title is Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, and David Harbour. I would argue that Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro are your main characters. David Harbour is more of a co-main at times. Mm-hmm. He's not in it as much as they are, but we do go back and forth between them and his character.
And unfortunately, Kieran Culkin not playing as big a role as I would have
wanted. No, he's great, but he is definitely a smaller role, as are Ray Liotta, Matt Damon, Brendan Fraser. Fraser was, we'll get into it.
First off, wow. And then, yes. Ooh.
All right, so some backstory on this movie. It was set to go into production beforehand, before COVID, called Kill Switch. Josh Brolin, Don Cheadle, Sebastian Stan, and John Cena were in consideration to star. John Hamm and Cedric the Entertainer entered negotiations as well. Brolin dropped out. Cheadle was officially announced with Stan and Hamm, but then Stan dropped out, which brought on Del Toro, and then they added Ray Liotta, Simon Shaw, and Clooney. Clooney dropped out, and then Matt Damon took his role. That's more of a cameo. I mean, it's on the cast list, so it's not really super hidden, but it's a role towards the end of the movie that Matt Damon plays. All right, so let's get to the movie. So the plot of this movie, because Wayne's right. There's a lot going on in this film, so it's not enough for me to just kind of tell you.
I think we could tell what the biggest part of it is, which I didn't understand until the end when they actually told me.
Yes.
We're talking about catalytic converters and the automobile industry in America.
Yes, that was kind of like you weren't quite sure that's what was happening, but that's what's happening. So in 1950s Detroit, gangster Kurt Goins, Don Cheadle, in need of cash to leave town, is recruited to threaten a family as part of a blackmail scheme, along with gangsters Ronald and Charlie, played by Kieran Culkin and Benicio del Toro. The recruiter, Doug Jones, played by Brendan Fraser, sends him to the house of the accountant, Matt, played by David Harbour. There's a document in his boss's office they need that has this catalytic converter that's going to change the auto industry, and they need it. And there's a lot of... It's one of those movies that's hard to talk about because there's a lot of setup and betrayal that I don't want to give away.
Right.
So some things happen, and essentially Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro are working together, kind of, not willingly.
Reactively.
Really. Yeah, exactly. Like, they don't really like each other, but they don't have much of a choice.
Right.
And Cheadle seems to be more the brains behind it, where Del Toro is kind of like the grifter, that's what he's really good at. And they're both, let me just say, they're both fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw that those two were his leads, he's worked with, I listened to an interview recently, this is his 6th time with Cheadle, and I think it's his 4th with Del Toro. So, and they both were in Traffic together. So, it was nice to see them kind of return to the screen with each other. There's lots of great twists and turns. Brendan Fraser, I will tell you this, because my wife was put off by it, and it's not fat shaming or anything. He just looks weird. Brendan Fraser is doing a movie for Darren Aronofsky where he's playing a man who's 400 pounds. Obviously, he's not gaining 400 pounds, but he had to put on a lot of weight to play that character. And he obviously shot this movie in the middle of gaining weight for that character because he's a much larger Brendan Fraser. Much larger. It's like big beer gut. And they don't. It kind of looks like.
Tell me who he looks like, sir. Go ahead. Tell me who he looks like. Tell me who he reminded you of. The answer is me. That's right. I'm like, brother, welcome home.
The true Fraser has come out. He reminded me of someone like Orson Welles' character. You know, when they were bigger, Marlon Brando. Like he kind of looked like that because he had the fedora and the trench coat. And
I was like, oh. John Goodman in his younger days.
Right, exactly. He was great, though. I thought it was great to see him back in a movie, and I thought he did a really good job.
He was not anybody, not in a role I could ever recall right away that he had done before.
Right, exactly. It was nice because it was a different role. Then you get to Leota, who is very much in a role that we've seen him before, but he's kind of the older guy now, so he's like the Paul Sorvino of Goodfellas.
Even he played the gangster role differently because I was waiting for him to go far back as I could always remember. I always wanted to be a gangster.
Oh, he did. Well, and it's clear that he is not the top guy either. Like he's a guy and the guy you don't want to piss off, but he's not the top guy. Yeah. He's got people he answers to as well. And then there's Bill Duke, who plays the character that Don Cheadle owes money to. Stole his book. He stole his book, his accountant book, basically, of all his illegal business. So he gets worked in there, too. Bill Duke, he's not in it much, but he does really well in the small role that he does have. There's great back and forth between him and Cheadle. And it's kind of funny at the end, too, okay, I don't want to give anything away, but there's just a moment, think Payback. That's what it kind of reminded me, Don Cheadle he's not greedy. Yeah. He just wants what he's owed, what he's deserved, and that's it.
My suits cost more than that.
Yes, come on. Exactly. There's a certain amount of money he needs to get his life right, and that's all he wants. He doesn't want all the money. He just wants a certain amount. And it's a really small amount, to be honest, even for 1954.
Yeah.
And it takes place, like you said, in Detroit. So it's a noir. It's shot like that. Now, this is the other thing I want to talk about too, Lane, and I'm sure you noticed this being an editor. The lenses. The lenses they use in this movie, they're not unlike GoPro lenses, where it's very kind of fisheye at times.
Yes.
Now, Soderbergh talked about that, and Mark Maron, it was the Mark Maron interview, and he was like, Mark Maron's like, I thought something was wrong with the copy you sent me, because it was just kind of off-putting at first. But it was a new lens that he wanted to use, and it's cool because it gives you the ability to shoot a wide shot from close up. Like, I could zoom in on Wayne's face, and you're going to see almost my entire garage with this lens. That was kind of the cool part of that lens. If you're a film buff, if you like cinematography, I thought that's one thing that Soderbergh is always in the front of, is whatever the next technical development is going to be that is going to kind of change everything. I don't know that we'll see a lot of people using this style, because we saw a lot of people filming iPhones when he did those two movies. But it was a really interesting way to shoot this movie. And like Maron said, it's one of those things, like, it makes you realize you're watching a movie, which is fine. You should know that you're watching a movie. It's not real life, it's a film. And it's very noir. It sets up the scenes really cool. It's really cool when they would do, like, Del Toro in one room, and you could see, like, Cheadle and Kieran Culkin over here in the kitchen, like, in one shot. Like, that was a really cool, instead of having to do split screens and stuff, I thought that was a really cool technique. So yeah, what were your thoughts on that lens? I know it's very noticeable, especially early on.
I like you mentioned about Mark Maron's comment. It's like, what's going on here? Because, like, especially when I remember Don Cheadle is walking through the barbershop, through the speakeasy. Well, not a speakeasy. Maybe a speakeasy? No, it's not a speakeasy. It's not Prohibition. What was probably a speakeasy at one time.
It's a bar
and
now,
then up to the stairs. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. What the hell just happened?
Yeah, right? And all in, like, one shot. And you're like, wait. And the camera doesn't move that much. That's the beauty of the camera, of that lens, is it sits there.
And at one point, they do that a sideways shot as he's going up the stairs too?
They do a sideways shot. He does a really wide shot where you can kind of see the fisheye, when they walk to the cars all the time.
Yeah.
So that's very noticeable there too. But again, like as a film buff, it just for me it was just like, wow, that's cool. Like I like that aspect of it. It was just kind of, it's definitely something you don't see in most movies, and I thought that was again, it's just he's always that creative guy who's just always looking for the next cool thing to do, whether people like it or not. He's gonna do it.
Well, like you said, as editors, we always we all notice things that aren't exactly right or correct, or mistakes that they tried to cover that you can catch that other people won't.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was interesting just to kind of watch it through the lens. And I heard the interview first. So hearing the interview first, it was nice. I kind of knew going in, okay, this is going to have an odd lens on it, and let's see how it looks. My wife, what's funny is I watched her Rebecca. She didn't say anything. She'll notice stuff like that. It was like, I don't really like that. It doesn't like make me. But she didn't say anything at all, so I think it really doesn't take you out of the movie at all. It's just kind of another cool trick. Wayne, I really dug this movie. Yes. I was a big fan of it. It's kind of something I've been waiting for from him. Something like just old school. I mean, we reviewed his most recent movie, but this felt like, again, it felt like Out of Sight to me. It felt like that type of movie, and I really liked it.
We went from Let Them All Talk to this. The point you made when we started the show. There is no pattern or
brand,
sense to it, and that's what makes Soderbergh fantastic.
Yes, you can't pin him down, which is great. And not to say that there's something wrong with like Scorsese or Spielberg who have a brand. It's just nice to have a guy who's almost as big as they are, but doesn't have a brand. And so he always is able to do really interesting shit. Mm-hmm. And that's why I like him so much. And he's ever since I saw Out of Sight, he's always been like one of my favorite directors.
Especially because every time I see a picture of him, he looks like Chester Benningfield.
He does.
I love. Everybody knows I love crime movies, organized crime, and this was an organized crime movie that, totally different.
Yes.
Like, there's no real mob that you really see other than the Ray Liotta stuff very quickly.
Yeah.
It's a nice spin with a lot of twists and turns. Yep. It's like a roller coaster.
It is. A lot of twists and turns. All the way to the end, too. All the way to the end, there's lots of twists and turns. All right. So
there's a scene. You know what? I'm not going to talk about it. Just a character meets an end.
Yes. Yeah, I already know what scene you're talking about. Yep.
Amazing.
Yes. There's actually, I'd say, two that I really like, but I know which one you're talking about. It's fantastic. It's on HBO Max, as we talked about, so go watch that right now. The next one we're going to get into is the follow-up to last week's film, and that is Fear Street, Part 2, 1978.
Yeah, buddy.
Fear Street, Part 1 we reviewed last week was 1994, and it ends with the characters from that movie needing the help from a girl from 1978's murder spree that survived. And so we get the continuation of that story. And this is more of a 70s camp slasher film. So think Friday the 13th.
Oh, so good. But seriously, who was waiting for Lucas 11 and the rest of the Stranger Things guys?
Of course. Because it stars, is it Sadie Sink? Is that who she is? Yeah, Sadie Sink, who is from Stranger Things. It's directed again by Lee Janik. She did all three movies. And it was written screenplay by her and Zach Olaquix. So it's Sadie Sink, Emily Rudd, Ryan Simpkins, McCabe Sly, Ted Sutherland. You get, she's not on here, Jillian Jacobs. There she is. She's probably the biggest one outside of Sadie Sink that you're going to recognize because Jillian Jacobs has been in, obviously, Community and a lot of other stuff. She plays the older Ziggy, which is Sadie's character. And so this movie, we start out with the characters from the last movie.
Yes.
They got Sam tied up still.
Amazing tie-in.
Yes. They go to get Ziggy's help because they want to know why she's still alive, essentially, and not possessed anymore, or not being followed anymore by the witch. And that leads Ziggy to tell her story.
We don't actually know who that lady is because it's just C.
You're right.
Berman.
Yes, C. Berman. You do kind of fit because there's two sisters with the last name Berman.
Yeah.
So you're not quite sure who's who, and the other one is Cindy. So you're thinking maybe it's her. So I spoiled it, I guess. But I guess I always was under the impression going into it that it was Ziggy because I knew that character was playing the older version of Sadie Sink from Stranger Things.
Yeah. So, the way it all, I didn't.
But you're right.
It makes sense to me until they revealed everything.
You're right, and they do a reveal of that. So
because I'm sitting there, why is this all about the one sister when it doesn't make no damn sense?
Yes,
because me, oblivious and missing signs.
You find out that Ziggy's obviously not her real name.
Yeah.
So spoiler, but
this is Wet Hot American Summer meets Friday the 13th.
Yes.
All of its awesomeness.
Yes.
Also throwing a little Blair Witch just to
for sure. There's So the nurse is the mother of the girl from the first movie with the switchblades, and she goes crazy. Well, we find out why later, and tries to kill this boy.
Right.
And then what's their names? Let me bring up Alice, I believe it's Cindy, Alice, Tommy, and Arnie are in the woods. Trying to find the witch's house. And they all think it's, not real. It's just a goofy thing. And they end up in the, witch's tunnels, basically, underground. And something happens to Arnie, so don't get attached. I won't tell you who or what is going on at this moment, but someone starts killing people. And it becomes this kind of try and survive the night type of thing. And with a relentless killer who can't be stopped, and there's lots of blood and guts and heads chopped off.
Amazing kills.
It's just really good kills. They do kill some kids, which they made the correct choice of not showing on camera.
Right.
They do the whole cutaway type of thing, which I thought was a good choice.
How about we just throw back to horror movie lore? The kids that have sex, it doesn't last long for them.
It does not last long. They do not make it. So if you see someone having sex in this movie, well, technically, though, one of them does, though. So I will say that. I'm not going to say who, but one of them does at the end of the movie. They get on the bus.
They didn't finish, so it doesn't count.
Okay.
That's my hypothesis. I don't know if I'm true or not.
Well, she finished. I don't really say if he finished, I guess. Going back from that. So, again, these are, the Fear Street books were young adult books. These are not young adult movies. These are movies made for adults. Lots of nostalgia back to the 70s. I was reading something recently where someone said, too, and we talked about it last week, how there's so much 80s nostalgia that, the 70s and 90s horror movies kind of get left out. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to have something that's felt very 70s. Last week we had something that felt very 90s.
Yeah.
We'll get next week that feels very 1600s.
Yeah. How about just the soundtrack again? Yes. Absolutely amazing soundtrack.
It's fantastic. It makes because you get a little bit of 90s in the beginning with the original cast, and then you get the 70s when you go back to the summer camp.
I've got a point to make in regards to music that I'll make when we get into our next film that we're reviewing, because it was just nice to hear. So.
Yes, agreed.
Teaser.
The big movie.
How about just? I will say this: the song, "The Man Who Sold the World."
Okay.
The newest version that I'm familiar with by Nirvana, Unplugged in New York.
Yes.
The original by David Bowie, used perfectly at different times in the film because of the different feelings. Because the two songs sound very, very different.
Yes.
Same exact words and everything, but the feel and the darkness or the lightness or just the jovialness to the two songs.
Yes.
Masterfully done.
It really was. The way they used music in this one, I mean, in both movies so far, the way they've used the music. So I'm interested to see what they're doing the next one, which takes place a long time ago. This is just setting up to be one of the most entertaining, horror trilogies, in a long time, I think.
The fact that we don't have to wait a year plus for each one
very nice.
Is so fantastic.
And this isn't a spoiler, really, because if you see the trailer for the third one, what I'm really excited about for the third movie, Wayne, is that all the characters from the first two movies are in the third movie as, I'm assuming, family members, ancestors down the line from this town years ago. Because they showed the trailer, and Sadie was in it, and the characters from the first movie are in it. And so it's really exciting to see. I'm really excited to see how they do this third movie where they jump back to the beginning of the witch's story of Fear, right?
Sadie Fear.
Sadie Fear, right?
right? Sadie Fear?
Is it Sadie or Sally?
Sarah
Fear. Sarah Fear, yes. It was an S.
And I just say that now. I'm like, oh, that's why it's called Fear Street.
Yes.
Duh. But yeah, just the way every character and every killer has been tied in throughout the years so far, because
there's such a cool
in this one
scene,
we see some ones that they talk about that we didn't see in the first one. That
very cool, very good deaths. I mean, God, the one at the end was brutal. It just kept going. I was like, Jesus. And I like this kind of stuff. I was like, oh my God, can we just let her die already?
It's like, it made me reminiscent of The Simpsons. Stop, she's already dead.
That was basically it. I was like, oh my God. And then when she's still breathing.
Yeah.
It was nuts. It was one of those things that
I personally like the bathroom death, my favorite.
Oh my God, that was good. the actor, I forget his name, but he was from the Halloween, the newest Halloween movie.
Drew Sheed, I believe.
Yes, and he's trying to help Ziggy get her sister and her sister's friend Alice out of the. They're underneath the outhouse basically because they followed one of the tunnels, and it does not go well for him.
Yeah, see, that's why you got to remain calm or you're going to lose your head, bro.
Exactly. Lots of good deaths with an axe because that was his weapon of choice. But definitely this series, like you've heard us talk about it, we really love it. Check it out on Netflix if you haven't seen it. Prepare for the third one coming out next week.
And for those of you people that don't like horror movies because you freak out, which that is me, it's a totally different realm. Yes, it's violent and gory, but it's so well done. Watch it with the lights on during the day and you'll be fine. Exactly. I slept like a baby last night. There you go. No problem.
All right, so on to the big one of the week, Wayne. We have been waiting for this movie since May of last year. It got pushed back to May of this year, then it got pushed back to July 9th of this year. And that is Marvel's Black Widow, directed by Kate Shortland, screenplay by Eric Pearson, starring Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, O.T. Fagabenle, Olga Kurylenko, William Hurt, Ray Winstone, and Rachel Weisz. Tells the story of Black Widow. You get a little bit of an origin story in the beginning in 1995. Her and her family living in America, like you've seen something like in The Americans. Mm-hmm. They have American accents, but they're Russian spies living in America. And we see their extraction, and then we go years later to the end of the Civil War movie, Captain America Civil War. Yeah. We find out what happens with Black Widow as she escapes General Thunderbolt Ross, who's chasing her, who's one of the Marvel tie-ins in this movie, because there aren't many, because he's basically it, really, unless you count the end credit scene, which we'll get into as well. This is probably going to be spoiler heavy, so please watch Black Widow probably before you listen to this, but or not, I don't know, whatever. So
you have been warned. We're going to talk about stuff.
Yes, exactly. So she's kind of like on the run, and the plot is basically she's on the run, and then she gets sent this package from Budapest. Budapest. Which we've been hearing about since Avengers, mm-hmm. And we find out what happened, and holy crap, is it really depressing. Kind of redeems itself a little bit later, but still, it's not great. It's one of those things where you're like, I saw a meme, and someone's like, finally going to find out what happens in Budapest, and then you find out, you're like, holy shit, like that's what happened. But she gets sent this package that's got like all the stuff from that apartment that she lived in Budapest, and it has these. When we're introduced to Helena, which is her sister, she gets this antidote put in her face, and it turns her from being a killing machine back to being herself. And so she takes the rest of the antidote, she stashes it in Natasha's apartment, and she gets sent this box, and then Taskmaster, who's one of the new villains in the movie, shows up to reclaim that. And so there's this really great fight sequence on the bridge between the two of them. It was a great scene. She's like, you don't know how good of a shot I am. That was a great line. I love that line.
Especially when I'm, pissed off?
Yeah, when I'm pissed. Yeah, I'm a better shot when I'm pissed off. That's what it was. Such a great line.
I just loved how they took Captain America and Iron Man and kind of morphed them into a villain.
A little bit of Black Panther because he had the claws.
Yes, forgot all about that.
Yes. or they had the claws, I should say, because there is a twist to who Taskmaster is, which was really interesting. Comic fans aren't as big of fans of it because I guess it's not that it wasn't, because I'll say this outright. They changed the gender. Olga Kurylenko actually plays Taskmaster. Most people weren't upset about that. They were upset, I guess, for the fact that in the comic, Taskmaster does a lot of mirroring of people's fighting, and we got one scene of that where she's kind of mirroring Black Widow on the bridge. But
there's another one at the end.
There is one at the end. Yes, you're right. There is one at the end. I thought that was really cool too.
Hilariously cool.
Yes. As great as Scarlett Johansson is amazing. Everybody knows me, knows I love her. So like, my son asked me after the movie, he's like, "So did you like it?" I go, "Buddy, I just watched almost 2.5 hours of Scarlett Johansson. I'm good. Like, that was a great movie for me." But I will say that Florence Pugh, her sister, steals the movie in a lot of her scenes. Mm-hmm. Great one-liners, great quips. When she makes fun of the posing. Oh god, the what?
The hero landing.
Yeah, the hero landing, which is fantastic. And then when she does it, oh my god, I just posed. Like,
disgusting.
Disgusting.
The accents are fantastic. As you know, I do okay Russian accents sometimes. Yeah. Really good, believable. I mean, I don't know many Russians. I think I can count two. Our good friend Ivan from our former place. He has a little bit of a accent in there. Yeah. But believable for me, at least. I enjoy the hell out of it.
I thought they did really good. It's going to be a Russian year for David Harbour, as he is in Russia in Stranger Things right now. So it's
allegedly, we don't know that.
We saw the trailer, the teaser.
I admit to nothing.
So he did a really good job with the accent. He was great as Red Guardian. That whole thing was really funny too.
He's trying to get the suit.
Oh my god, that was hilarious.
He's still fits.
Yeah, he was great. Rachel Weisz is really good as their mother. But like I said, Florence Pugh really shines. I think it's great that she's going to continue on in her role. There is the end credits scene. I will tell what it is right now. So if you don't want to hear the end credits scene, fast forward or turn it off. It is Valentina, who was introduced in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So if you haven't watched that yet, you haven't met her. That is what's her name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Elaine from Seinfeld.
And she is like basically taking the outcast superheroes and making them like kind of like hitmen, I guess. Kind of. We don't know why they're after Clint Barton, but at the end of this movie, the bonus scene is Florence Pugh being given her next target, which is Clint Barton, a.k.a. Hawkeye, who's, by the way, a TV show lands at the end of the year. So they're already, I announced in one of the podcasts that Florence Pugh was joining Hawkeye in that cast. So
now we understand.
Now we get it. And
I gotta jump in right here. Until that point, I'm like happy. Hey, we got a kick-ass Black Widow movie. She finally got some records. Oh wait, she's dead.
Yeah, fuck. That was the whole realization too, because it was funny because Rebecca's like, I thought we were gonna get her going to her mother's grave, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And then she runs into like the jet, she takes off. So I'm like, oh, I guess not. And then they cut to the end credits. I'm like, oh, here's your grave scene. And then they show this is Natasha. I'm like, aw, Natasha.
I was so. I'm not gonna lie. The ultimate fanboy was like, she's still alive. Please, it's gonna be her. It's gonna be. Damn it.
Well, what's great is
I understand the whole you can't come back Soul Stone thing, but damn it, I hoped.
Right, but there is time travel in this franchise, so there's always a way to bring her back if need be. But I think what the plan is to have Florence Pugh kind of go forward as the next Black Widow, maybe. Yeah. So they may do a Black Widow 2, but with her, which I would be okay with. It would be great to get David Harbour back into this franchise, I think, as that character. Cause he was
good, funny, yes.
So good. Yeah. And the avalanche scene. I love the avalanche scene when Florence Pugh is staring at it, and she's like, oh, this would be such a cool way to die. Like, just the joy in her face. And then there's a scene later where she's like, this would not be that cool of a way to die. Yeah.
This was fun.
It was a lot of fun. We waited a long time for it. It was great to finally see it. I'm glad I watched it. I bought it on, how we watched it was I bought it on Disney Premiere. We did not go to the theaters, but if you feel safe going to the theaters, go check it out. It's going to be the highest-grossing movie since the pandemic so far with $89 million.
Worth it, definitely worth it.
I'm sure it looks really badass on the big screen. I have to imagine. Lots of cool action sequences, lots of great just badass stuff. Scarlett is fantastic in it.
You know, I don't know. Did you read the comments from Steven Dorff?
Yeah,
I was like worried, I guess, or kind of like, uh-oh, when I read that he didn't think very highly of it. But I watched it, and I don't know what he was talking about.
Not in his defense, in what he said, he was only talking about the trailer, I think, because he had said like he'd seen like the trailer of it, and that's what he was talking about. But and I love Steven Dorff. To me, he's like a lesser Christian Slater, but Steven Dorff was in Blade. Okay, he did plenty of shitty video games. His comment was basically like, I love doing like Scorsese or David Lynch movies. Like, give me that movie. And you know what? As an actor, I can understand it. And you know what? Scarlett Johansson has done some really great work in small films that people may have missed because it looked weird or strange. And there's some I really recommend. And for him to kind of put the other ironic part of this, Wayne, is he's in Hawkeye. He's going to be in Hawkeye in the MCU. So for him to make those comments was kind of strange.
So you think it was just kind of, hey, I need attention, look at me?
I think so. I think, and it was kind of like I think it was the inner like actor in him. Like, I do important work.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, he has always been in the MCU because
of Blade.
Yes, but not. But technicality. All right.
I mean, one of his biggest movies to date was Blade, which is a Marvel movie. So it is.
I can't tell you another movie that he's been in off the top of my head. So.
Well, and I could, but I'm the movie guy, and there's lots of movies I like of him. He did a movie with Sofia Coppola in 2010. So like he's worked with really good directors.
Oh, great! The person that ruined The Godfather. Fantastic.
Perfect.
Kidding. I love you, Sophia.
So I mean, I get what he's saying, but at the same time, like to say, "Oh, I'm embarrassed." You have to remember too that a lot of these actors, while I think they like doing them, they enjoy doing the Marvel movies. They do these movies, so then she has the ability to go and do something like Under the Skin, which is a weird, bizarre, crazy alien movie that most people don't get or understand, but I loved and I think is a masterpiece of a film. But she got to do that because she was making movies where they were paying her $20 million. She didn't have to worry about her next project, So doing these movies allows these actors a lot more freedom, I think, and sometimes they can get looked down upon to that. But the MCU movies have been classed for the most part. I mean, there's not really I always say even the bad ones are good. They're usually, and even the bad ones are better than most of the DC movies. So like, there's still a quality to them that Kevin Feige, even if it's a bad movie like Thor: The Dark World, it's still enjoyable to an extent. You know what I mean? So like, they're still solid movies. I don't think these actors should be looked down upon because of them.
To quote Billy Bob Thornton in Bad Santa, they can't all be winners, kid.
Exactly. And like, the other thing too is then you have the hypocrite come back in you, because I'm sure Steven Dorff will be hearing about it when Hawkeye debuts at the end of this year. But another person you look at is Idris Elba, who was really kind of burned out of doing the Thor movies. Well, guess what his next big movie is? Suicide Squad. So it's like you went from one franchise to the next. Like you got to watch yourself when you make those comments. And just kind of, if you want to say, oh, well, I love playing Nelson Mandela, that's really important work to me. The Thor stuff was it was fun. Instead of like really putting it down. Like,
see, with that, I would have loved to have seen more Heimdall involvement.
Yes.
That was one of the most underutilized characters for me in the MCU.
And it was sad for a lot of reasons because he was one of the few main characters who was black and did not get, like the rest of them, did not get a lot of screen time. He was definitely well underused. Maybe that was part of it. He did talk about being like attached to harnesses and stuff. So maybe when he did Suicide Squad, he made sure he's not attached to any harnesses. I don't know. But regardless, it's a really enjoyable film. If you like the MCU movies, you're going to love it. Go see it in theaters. Buy it on Disney Plus. Or wait, I think in August it'll be on there for free. So you've got some time. August or September, I can't remember.
Yeah. The one point I wanted to make, in the title sequences, a Nirvana song is also used in Black Widow.
Yes, but not by Nirvana, though.
It is by a...
Did you look it up?
I don't remember the artist's name. She did a really good job with it.
She did. It was fantastic. Donovan was getting annoyed because Rebecca was singing American Pie, which is used in the very beginning.
Yes.
And then I was singing that song as it was coming on.
Hey, can we just talk about David Harbour's rendition of American Pie? Oh, utterly fantastic.
It was amazing. It was really good.
But yeah, just as a big Nirvana fan, nice to just see that and hear, not see, but hear their stuff still being used.
And like you said, going from hearing some Nirvana stuff in the Fear Street movies and then hearing it again in Black Widow is also very cool too. Just again to see how much that music has resonated. I know we have some friends who aren't huge fans, but I'm a huge fan.
Deep dive in it, because The Man Who Sold the World, Nirvana, is a cover of David Bowie / Ziggy Stardust. And then in Black Widow, we've got a cover of a Nirvana song by another artist. So it's, for those of you that don't like covers, well, sorry, but everybody did a fantastic job with their covers.
Yes, they did. All right, so moving on. Those are 3 movies, obviously, we recommend, so check them out.
Thank you for coming on this marathon with us. Yes. It has definitely been a ride, but so good.
So good.
We had a trio of awesome this week.
Yes, it was. It was a fantastic week for films. We'll see how next week goes. We get the Fear Street wrap-up, but we also have Space Jam. I know we're kind of both maybe hesitant on that movie, but we want to review it. We want to see it.
If nothing else, we get to make throwbacks to the original.
Yes. So that'll be interesting. Stay tuned for that next week. I'm going to go right into the news and notes since we're kind of running long here. Megan Thee Stallion will be playing herself in the She-Hulk series. Michelle Yeoh has been cast in the Witcher Blood Origins TV show. Zack Snyder is directing a sci-fi fantasy movie called Rebel Moon, which was originally written as a Star Wars movie, Wayne. So he's taking it and making it into its own movie on Netflix. Pen 3, Gunpowder Milkshake 2, and Cold Pursuit 2 are all in the works. The Tomorrow War 2 is happening, Wayne. I wanted to talk about this one a little bit. Even though I enjoyed Tomorrow War, you didn't as much. I don't see where there could be a sequel. I don't know if there's, it just didn't make, the ending didn't leave a room, I don't think, for one.
In a time travel movie, there can always be a sequel.
Right, and that's what I started thinking about. Well, they did make 6 Terminator movies, so I guess you could do it, right? Justin Chambers cast as Marlon Brando in The Offer, which is the limited TV series about the making of The Godfather. Greta Gerwig will be directing Barbie with Margot Robbie. So Gerwig, mostly known for her movies that have been very kind of Oscar-caliber films, jumping into this one, made a lot of people on Twitter go, I kind of want to see Barbie now. So we'll see. Margot Robbie, I think the perfect choice probably.
Oh, please tell me it's a dark Barbie.
Dark
comedy Barbie. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Well, I will say this, and it could be, because originally Amy Schumer was in talks to star, was going to be in this movie. I know. So there could have been, with that happening, I would imagine it would have been more of a dark comedy. So we'll see if it stays in that route or if it's going to be like a kid's movie. I don't know. But that's just, getting Greta Gerwig for that movie was big for them.
When I hear Barbie and Margot Robbie, I think of her in the hot tub, or the bathtub at the beginning of
Big Short.
Big Short, yes.
Yeah, where she's playing herself, yes. Hi, I'm Margot. I'll give you Margot Robbie in a bubble bath.
Yeah.
Explain it to you. All right. Releases coming out soon. The Kissing Booth 3-Wing hits Netflix August 11th. Nightmare Alley, directed by Guillermo del Toro and starring Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, Willem Dafoe, Toni Collette, Richard Jenkins, Ron Perlman, Rooney Mara, Halt McCallany, Clifton Collins Jr., Tim Blake Nelson, Mary Steenburgen, and David Strathairn hits theaters December 3rd. Huge cast for that movie. Red Notice, which has been talked about for a while now with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot, finally hits Netflix November 12th. Sweet Girl, starring Jason Momoa, hits Netflix August 20th. It actually looks like a pretty sweet action flick. And Wayne, finally, The Witcher Season 2 officially arriving December 17th on Netflix.
Nice. 2 years later, but...
Yep. It's coming.
First season was so good.
And they have, I believe, Cable signed on for like 5 more seasons. So if it keeps doing well, they're going to keep doing it, I think. All right. We did have some deaths this week. Robert Downey Sr., the father of Robert Downey Jr., and he's like an underground filmmaker, passed away at 85. Suzanne Douglas, the actress, passed away at 64. William Smith, from Dukes of Hazzard, Red Dawn, Conan the Barbarian, Rich Man, Poor Man, and Every Which Way You Can, died at 88. And the biggest one this week was the director, Richard Donner, director of Superman, Goonies, Lethal Weapon 1 through 4, plenty other movies, passed away at 91 this year. Most likely killing the chances of us getting Lethal Weapon 5 and Goonies 2, which had been apparently in the works, and he was going to do Lethal Weapon 5 before Goonies 2. So we'll see what happens with that. But rest in peace to all those that we lost. And yeah, I just want to thank you guys all for listening. It's really fun doing this. If you're still listening to us every week, we appreciate it. Yeah, so for Wayne Yerke, I am Mike Kirkpatrick. Thank you for listening to Now Showing with Mike and Wayne.